Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
What was your biggest contract in the NFL?
That 2 years for $4 million. I was set for life. I'm going to have an apartment, and some girl will at least like me a little bit.
Yeah. So,
I think God just gives you some fairy dust sometimes and gives people different gifts, right? Did I work hard? Absolutely. Did I give it everything? Did I love it? Yeah. And I'm also like, well, what happens if I was 5'5"?
you have 3 boys. Will you encourage them or discourage them about playing football? Hey, I'm sitting down with the hottest man in football, and he's not even playing. I'm talking about Tony Romo. He's a dad, he's got 3 kids, and he has set the booth on fire as the #1 color commentator in football. Some say if the Kansas City Chiefs had been talking to him, they would have been in the Super Bowl. You're going to learn a lot about Tony Romo you didn't know. He is special. That's going to happen in less than 1 minute.
I'm Katie Maloney, I'm 37, a divorcee, and I'm out here falling in love every day with myself.
And I'm Dana Cathan, 33, former needy mess, and delusional Leo, but I've never been happier.
Never been happier.
You know that.
Good.
The foundation of this podcast is for people who want to live their life unapologetically. It's a safe space for anyone who's going through a transition in their life or just dealing with the regular bullshit.
It's a religion.
We're not saying that we're looking to start a coven, but that might be why we started
but
this
we're
podcast.
not saying that. Join our cult. Community.
The coven.
Religion.
Okay, let's just stick with community.
Listen to the podcast.
Listen to the podcast.
I've been doing a kind of a series on this championship concept and what makes some people champions when other people aren't. And I've been a fan of yours forever because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Well, I'm a Cowboy fan every Sunday morning, and then I quit them every Sunday night, and I swear off of them until the next Sunday morning, and then I'm back again, and then I quit them on Sunday night, and I'm back again the next Sunday morning. They're so frustrating.
Well, that means you're a true fan of sports then, because I feel like that's how I never want to see you during the season back when I played then. I was like, oh, we lost. Don't go in public.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been a Cowboy lover forever. And I'll never give them up. What a career. You came from Eastern Illinois University, right?
Yeah.
How many students were there? Like 9?
Yeah, probably around.
It's a tiny
9,
school,
000.
right?
It's tiny.
Was it 1-2A?
It was 1AA at that time, and I think they've changed that now. But FBS, FCS stuff. But the crazy part is, I feel like it's life in some ways, where it's like when you're a kid, you don't really know that you do or don't have money, or that your house is big or not, or that you like, I have nice clothes, or you just kind of you're there and you're doing it. And then life happens, and then you learn as you get older. That's how that college was for me. It was like, it didn't feel small at the time.
Yeah.
As I got older and went back, you're like, boy, there wasn't a lot of options here to go eat around the corner.
I mean, literally, is it like 5,000 students or something?
Yeah. The whole town, like included with the college, was under 20,000.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like it's just like a small town, and I don't know. It really was enjoyable though. It was one of those places where you kind of get to like grow up with your friends. You're going to school, you're walking everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't need Uber there. I don't think they're surviving very much there.
And we're kind of working backwards, but do you ever stop and look at your career? I mean, 14 years as a quarterback for the Cowboys, and look back and say, out of all of the tens of thousands of college players, college quarterbacks, coming from that tiny school, winding up the quarterback for America's team, setting all the records that you set for passing, touchdowns, all of that. Do you ever look back at that and say, how did that happen? What do you say to yourself about that?
Well, it's a great question. And there's like two things that come to my mind when I hear that. And uh, the first one is like, I really don't look back very often. Like you're always moving on to the next thing and the next thing. And then you're just like, oh, but you do sprinkle in a thought of the odds whenever like somebody asks a question like that. Then you're like, well, that is a good point, because life just kind of happens and it feels gradual to me, where it's like you're just trying to make it at Eastern Illinois, and then you're kind of playing a game and you're the backup, and then you're the starter, and then you're a free agent in the NFL, and then you're backup, and then you play, and then you're winning, and then you're trying to win a Super Bowl, and then life. And it's like, it felt gradual. So it felt normal. When you say it the way you did it, it feels like we shot from Burlington, Wisconsin, right to the Cowboys, and then these odds are so like zero. And you're right. The odds are like less than zero. But here's the second part that I also think about when I really like sat in that moment after that type of question. I'm like, it kind of gives me gratitude, because it's like, I'm just not convinced it was all me. In other words, like, I think God just gives you some fairy dust sometimes and gives people different gifts, right? But to think like, did I work hard? Absolutely. Did I give it everything? Did I love it? Yeah. And I'm also like, well, what happens if I was 5'5"? You know, what happens if I didn't have the frame? What happens if, I mean, there was a million things that I had no control over. A dad who would play catch with me every day of my life, like in the freezing, like -10 up in Wisconsin. And just all these things had to kind of connect and go the right way. And it's like, you don't know that when you're in it. But that's, the older I get, I just really believe I don't like taking credit for that type of stuff, because it's just too, like you said, the odds are too crazy. It's something had to be helped there. You know what I mean?
I totally get that. And I think there has to be bigger plan than we understand. And I always think about it. God has a plan man cannot understand,
Yeah,
and everything's beautiful in its own time.
it's true.
But then I also am one of those people that believes pray to God, but row for the shore.
Yeah, you better work. I mean, he gives you gifts.
That's right. And what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, and you got to go grind it. And
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you say, God help me. I gave you oars. Well,
Yeah.
why aren't you rowing?
that's exactly right.
And so the thing I am trying to figure out, and I really am trying to impact young people with it, is there are 1,000 people in your same situation that are maybe as talented as you were at the time or more so.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you there are psychologists out there that have forgotten more psychology than I'll ever know. But I'm where I am and they're where they are, and there's a reason. And part of it is because God's using me in what I'm doing, but why me? And part of it is, I had to seize opportunities and do it. And I asked Emmett the same questions. And one of the things he said is he used to run a movie in his head of the whole game before he played it. I mean, he would think, we're going to have like 11 or 12 possessions. And in that, I'm going to carry the ball like 4 or 5 times. It's going to be this many plays. And I'd see myself running that play and, who's blocking and where I would see it actually happen. And I thought, and I've studied success since I was 12 years old because of football. I played a football game when I was 12 against a Salvation Army team that had nothing, and they handed us our ass on a platter. I mean, they didn't have matching helmets. They were playing in blue jeans, half of them, no football shoes. They beat us like they were clapping for a barn dance. I was embarrassing, humiliating. And it made me really wonder, what do they have that I don't have? Because they didn't have the opportunities I had, and they kicked our butt. And I want to know what they had in here. And I started studying at 12 years old what made people do what they do, what made them tick. And I mean, it was real clear early on, those kids were hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hungry. Nobody gave them a damn thing. They were hungry and they were tough and they fought for everything they got. I mean, I learned a lot right then, and I just kept studying it and kept studying it. And they retired your jersey at Eastern Illinois They've never done that before. They've never done that since. That's no accident. I mean,
Yeah,
all humility aside, that's no accident.
First off, like I said, I think that some of this was given, but once you have it, now it's time to go. Let's go make this and use the strengths that we have, and then go see how good you can be. There are, like you just said, there's a million little things that I feel like are strengths of mine that allow you to have more success or give you an advantage to succeed faster or quicker. When you talk about what Emmett said, you don't get to become the all-time leading rusher without genuinely having some rare special quality that you have to figure out how to get to use at the highest of levels. And for me, I really feel like, I mean, there's 100 little things, but one of them I really think is a skill set, I guess, is just your thought process to evaluate yourself and how others are reacting to it. And so after he talked about doing the game beforehand, I was a hair different. Like for me, I would definitely visualize a little bit, things of that nature, but I really wanted to dissect post practice, post game, and analyze what I thought in that moment. How was my temperament? What was my emotional level? What's the background of this team? And why wasn't I aware? I knew this was happening. Why couldn't I get my brain to think of this in this situation on 3rd and 7 when I was prepared for it on Thursday? But it didn't come into my brain at that moment on Sunday. And so I would analyze myself and then analyze the mannerisms and things of others at the other side of the ball or coaches, and try to be like, well, like, I mean, I'm kind of going off a little bit here, but if I wanted to get a play in with one of my coaches, when I was younger, you'd ask. As you got older, I found just through the natural psychology, what you want to call it, just I'm learning his mannerism, what he's taking to and what he's not. And certain things I would say with a certain tone would change how this might get done. And so you're constantly evaluating that. And I feel like I do that with everything. Like right now, by the 5th question, I'll be evaluating just how you're like reacting to a question or not, whether it's being pleasing or not. And it's just like, we know all this stuff, but I really think you have to think about it. If you don't go home and think about it, you're losing to somebody who is. Yeah. And he's getting better. And I think people it's hard to get better. You got to really think about it.
As an athlete, at whatever level, did you believe that you were the best?
No, it's a great question.
When you got up in the morning and you walked to school, you walked into the hallway, you went into pep rally in high school or at college or whatever, did you have a swagger? Were you cocky enough? Did you, even if you didn't say it out loud, did you believe I can own this game? Even if you didn't say it to anybody else, did you have inside the idea?
There's a confidence within you that I'm probably the wrong guy to ask a little bit, because I was very confident at a young age for no reason. And so I feel like I did not own the pep rallies. I was not confident when I walked in high school or was around girls or any of that stuff. If anything, I was very shy. But if you put me in a competitive environment, I couldn't take it if I failed. Like, it was almost like you talked about that hunger inside. It was like breathing. It's like, I can't breathe if I think that you thought you were just better than me or that you were winning. And then, do you ever remember the song? I think it's called The Greatest. I think it might be a Kenny Rogers. I could be getting this wrong, but during the song, this kid, and this is exactly my mindset that happens, is this kid goes out with his ball and his bat, and he stands up and he's going. His mom says, "Hey, it's time to come in. You gotta eat." And he throws the ball up. He's just throwing it to himself, and he's swinging and hitting it. Tosses that ball up. That's strike one. And the kid goes, "That's okay. I am the greatest." Da, 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 da. So he throws it up and he goes, boom, that's strike two. And now it comes down to this final pitch. He's like, "Okay, I got this one. I am the greatest." He knows he's whiffing, but he's just keeping that mindset. Then the third ball goes up, and that ball comes down. Kid swings, misses it. Comes home. Mom's like, how'd you do, son? Mom, I didn't know I could pitch like that. I am the greatest.
That's great.
I feel like that's the mindset. You're constantly confident, even though you're failing, you're learning. You're constantly okay because you're teaching yourself every time. So it's really not, I feel like I tell my kids, I'm like, Daddy never cares about winning and losing. Just cares about you learning and getting better. That's all that I care about. And that's the way I approach it.
But when you went into a game, you expected yourself to win.
Yeah, it was like breathing. It was hard to take. And I would lose, but I wasn't the guy who would like throw the chair through the wall. My brain automatically went with like, I cannot, like, what can I do to never let this happen again? Like, what do I have to do? I have to get better at this. I'm not good enough at this. I'm not good enough here. This will eventually come up again. I need to help this coach. I need to help this player who's having trouble in this spot. Those things are what go through my brain. Something
that I noticed, and I was curious if you did it on purpose, because you took over midseason from Drew Bledsoe, and he was injured, and you came in, and I noticed it every time you were playing. I've always told people, if there's not something in your life you're passionate about, you need to find something you're passionate about, because if not, you're just burning daylight, and days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and pretty soon you look back and your life is over and you've just been going through the motions. But real winners not only have something they're passionate about, they get everybody around them passionate about something. So everybody is excited. And the thing that stuck out to me about you in the league was you got everybody around you excited. It wasn't just you came in and you were excited.
Yeah.
You got everybody around you excited. So there was a change in I look at the psychology of the game. There was a change in the passion in the huddle. There was a change in the passion of the game when you came in, because your passion, your excitement, even the way you scrambled around, all the things you did brought an excitement that lifted everybody's excitement up. Everybody got excited. And so that made the whole team more passionate. Did you notice it, and did you do it on purpose?
I think you're always trying to be a leader and stuff like that, but no, I think it's just, that's your natural charisma. I do think, though, there is something about, you described wanting everyone's to come to that same type of level. And I just want people to be happy and enjoy themselves. There's something about, like, if we go to dinner and you're sitting there and it's just a tough day. And sometimes you have energy, sometimes you don't. But I feel like it's my job to like get you to like have an enjoyable dinner if you're in front of me. And it's probably a flaw sometimes, but you're right. With the team, it's like you want everyone to like be in it together, and you want us to enjoy it together, and you want to be passionate about it, and you want to win. And it's better and easier to win if you get everyone to really love it like you do. And
I've studied the interviews of players. Like when I got ready to do this, I listened not to people interviewing you because I wanted to interview myself. I didn't want to listen to other people interview you.
Yeah.
I listened to people interviewing the people around you. And what I noticed is when they were interviewing your teammates throughout those 14 years, a common theme is those people felt better about themselves after they were around you than they did before they were around you. And they frequently said that.
Oh, wow.
They said, I feel better about myself as a person and a player after I've been around Tony than before I was. That's what we call, there's a name for that in psychology. It's called a health engendering personality. That when you're around somebody and you feel better about you after being around them than you did before you were around them, that's a health engendering personality. And not using that label or that term, a lot of people you played with described you in those terms. They said they felt better about themselves after playing with you, hanging out with you, being in the locker room with you, being in the huddle with you than they did before they were.
Well, I've never heard that.
Listen to you.
I mean, that's shocking. I mean, I feel like I've never gone back and read or saw that stuff, but I mean, it's kind of makes you feel good, to be honest with you, that they would say that.
Well, it should, because you talk about being a leader. If people are around you and they feel better about themselves for being around you, you're lifting their game. You're lifting their game of life. You're lifting their game of football. You're lifting how they feel when they go home. And I think that's why you got a lot more out of what might not have been the best talent pool some years than might have been gotten out of them elsewise. Is that a tactful way of saying that?
Very politically. No, I appreciate you saying that. I don't know. I just feel like you want to win. You can't not win. I'll just keep going until I can't breathe, it feels like. And that's why in football, is like, if I would have kept playing, I might have just died at the end of this day. I mean, like, to the point where you'd have to, it was almost like a family choice, because it's like, I can't get out of my own way when it comes to that. And so when I moved on to CBS, it was a similar approach, where it was, they're like, well, you know, and I'm like, listen, if I'm failing, we're all staying here for the next 96 straight hours so we can practice it 1,000. Like, I can't, it's hard to be not good enough, if that makes sense. It's just a thing that you have kind of, that's just innate, and it drives you nuts.
Because you're so competitive, how did you make the decision to move on from the game?
Well, I think I needed to be not so selfish in some ways. I think, I got 3 boys, and, I recognized just some of the injury aspect of some things that had come about, obviously, with my back, and knowing how hard it was for a year or two to get through that and get ready and prepare. And in a lot of ways, there was a loyalty to a lot of the people within the Cowboys, some teammates that you've went through a lot of games with and a lot of battles. And then, front office, coaches, just people that you really wanted to, I didn't want to leave the game and feeling like I just said, all right, goodbye, good luck. Because I know how hard that game is. And I know how much you can influence and help others, like you described. And it was actually weirdly made easier when I felt like they were in good hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that part of it actually it gave me a feeling of, okay, I wasn't necessarily thinking this right now, but it was coming out around the corner pretty soon. And then it was like, I've given as much as I know I've given everything, but I will continue to do this until 58 if it took to win a Super Bowl. It's like, I got to get out of my own way in some way and be a dad and do something else.
Was it a solitary decision? I mean, was this something that you sat down by yourself, you walked around, drove around, thought about, and made the decision on your own?
My wife, my parents. Ultimately, you're going to come down to your own, core.
But you talked to Candace, you talked to your parents.
Absolutely, yeah. My wife is very smart. My dad, mom. I mean, I've got really intelligent people around, as far as sometimes seeing a blind spot that I may not be able to pick up on. And I think that's, why I'm lucky in a lot of ways.
Your dad was supportive athletically, you said, all the way along, right? He played catch with you at 10 below in Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh. My dad, he would drive at Eastern Illinois. I was the backup redshirt freshman year. He drove, got off work on Friday night, drove for the noon game to Kentucky from Wisconsin. Got in the car, drove there, got there, whatever, in the morning. Let's say he left at 9 o'clock.
To watch you watch?
To watch me watch, in case I possibly got in the game. Watched the game, gave him a hug, he went home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nice 24-hour round trip of driving or whatever it was.
But he was there in case you got in.
In case I got in. I'm just like, that's my dad at his core.
Yeah. He was in the Navy originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he was a carpenter?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
He worked his way up. Project manager, superintendent, all that.
Yeah. And then your mom was a retail clerk?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My mom worked at Sears. She was a retail clerk.
My grandma was at Kohl's, and then my mom ended up doing books. Now they do a lot of the help with some of the financial stuff.
Yeah. Are you still close?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were just saw them this week.
Yeah.
They come down still all the time, and they like their grandkids.
When you made the decision to stop, did you know what you were going to do at that point?
I did know then. Yeah. At that point, I'd made the decision probably to go into broadcasting, and, it was a strange time just because you're like, I've been doing this literally your whole life. I do think you described it earlier saying you better find something you love. There's a deep-rooted joy for me in trying to get somewhere. In other words, trying to accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that in football your whole career. And it was easy in some ways because you're always winning or losing. And it's going to tell you right in your face, and the world's going to tell you too.
Yeah.
But I was nervous about that part of it, moving on.
Yeah, well, you were in a game where they grade your paper every week, and it's public. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah.
Did the press bother you? I mean, if you had a bad game and they trash you in the press, did that bother you?
Well, I think when I was young, when I first started, I just have to take you through a little bit of the mindset because I feel like it kind of shapes you. But when I first started in 2006, I think we won like 5 out of our first 6 games. And really the other one was a blocked field goal that we had won, and they kicked it like to beat us, like complete shift.
Yeah.
We started off really good. And then what happened? So you're like, oh, because you want to be a good person. You want to do the right things.
Yeah.
And try and people hopefully like you. Well, then all of a sudden there's like a bad game or a bad stretch or something and completely shifts. And then you're terrible. And this is before even the social media aspect. It would be like comments from an article or something.
Yeah.
I can remember reading that way back then. And I was like, I don't understand why are people so mean? It was like, well, I thought was all this friend. Like
I thought we were friends.
You liked me. What happened here? And then when that happened, it kind of showed me where I was like, oh, this just kind of goes with the seasons of life. It's like you really can't control it per se. Because I tried to, I think when I was younger, just be nice to everyone, do everything for everybody, do every interview, do everything, blah, 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 like, and then you're just running ragged. And it really didn't matter. Ultimately, it was like your performance on the field is going to be out there for everyone to see.
Yeah, whatever.
And so eventually it would just turn into a turtle shell. And, I could read an article and it could be great or poor. And it really would have almost no effect emotionally now at this point. But early on in your career, it was super emotional going through it.
Did you ever worry when you had a bad year, a bad season, about Jerry Jones being impulsive, pulling the trigger, making a change?
No, because just, when you play the game, you kind of know your skill set a little bit. I mean, sure, stuff can happen all the time, but, I think more than anything, it was, if you line 2 people up, some guy's going to get through this progression faster than the other guy. And you can just see that when you play the game a little bit. And that's probably me being a hair too cocky, I feel like. But I felt comfortable with just that skill set I told you. That was the part that I had a gift with, was my ability to see things at a very quick, fast pace. And that's what separated me. And just, you don't see, run across that, part of it. So I felt like that was an advantage that I would always be able to have. Some teams are better than others, some years you play better than others, but.
Hey, it's Donna from Daily Dose of Donna. Every weekday afternoon on the Daily Dose of Donna podcast, I cover all of the reality TV and celeb gossip and breaking news. I'm a former TV casting director. My husband works in reality TV, and I live for the Housewives, the Sister Wives, the Southern Charmers, and the Summer Housers. And let's be honest, all of the drama. I'll give you a day's worth of celebrity and reality news weekday afternoons in just under an hour. New episodes of Daily Dose of Donna post weekday afternoons and are now available in video on Spotify. Subscribe to Daily Dose of Donna, that's DANA, on your podcast app.
How'd you get along with Jerry?
I love Jerry.
You guys have always been very tight, right?
Yeah. I mean, since I started playing, real close. And he could tell you a story about him and Bill Parcells trying to strong arm me from like 2 feet away to sign a contract. That was, I was in my second year, I believe, in the NFL, second or third year. And it was right before a preseason game. Bill Parcells and Jerry called me in to this office, and I'm like nobody, just a kid who's second or third string at the time. We're getting ready for a preseason game. to go out there and I'm going to start this game because they're resting all the starters.
Yeah.
So I'm the backup kid who's going to play. And this is 20 minutes before the game. Tony, sit right here. I sit down, and literally knees are touching. Bill Parcells on one side, Jerry on the other, and both the knees. And they're like, we talked to your agent yesterday. We think you need to sign this contract for $300,000 for the next 2 years, or like $600,000 or something. Otherwise, we can't play you. And Parcells like, we can't play out there. I can't show the rest of the league, you know. You go out here and play. I'm not going to start you and do that. And so you can just try and make money out there. So that's not, we need you to sign this thing and tell your agent to get, to understand where you're at. And so I was like, and so it's obviously the most frightening situation you've ever been in as an athlete by far.
That's two bulls sitting in front of you.
Gosh. And, Bill's just breathing heavy right all over you. And all of a sudden, I don't know what, but you get calm and you think about it logically. And so then I speak to them logically from my perspective. I was like, I completely understand why you guys would say that. Being in your position, I would probably do the exact same thing. However, from my position, just to explain mine, you have a quarterback, Drew Bledsoe, who came back, and if he leads us to the NFC Championship game this year, I'm not going to be able to play now after 3 years. And then there's 4 years. And it's like, and if I sign 2 or 3 more year deal, like I know the money's not that big a deal. It's not that big of me. I want to play, but I also understand this is a business. And if you guys pay me, you're more inclined to give me an opportunity to play. So if you're investing in me real money, I know that you'll make a concerted effort to get me on the football field. If you don't really have to. You don't need to. And so for me, coming from someone who just wants to play and an opportunity, that's where I feel like I can't do it for any less than, and I said like 2 years, $4 million or something, like 2 a year or something, which
a
at
whole
the
lot
time
more than they were saying
was more money than you could have dreamed you're ever going to make in your life. And I was like, but I can understand why you guys said that, and you can just let me know what you guys decide. Obviously, I want to play today. That's the most important thing to me. It would devastate me, but I understand you guys have to do what you have to do. It's a business sometimes, but I'll go get ready and you just let me know. So we walk out, and Jerry tells me the story now. Me and Bill looked over afterward, and he goes, we got ourselves a damn quarterback. And I walked out of there, and I'm like, I blacked out. What happened? I don't remember anything. It was a tough spot, but.
So what'd you sign for?
2 years, $4 million.
2 years, $4 million.
I got like 1 or 2 up front, I think. But.
And how long after that meeting did you sign?
Oh, the next week.
Oh, it was the next week,
Yeah.
right away, huh?
Yeah. Jerry might even write it before I left. Might have said like, you know what? We're going to do it. Let's do the deal. I'm fine with it. I think you might be right.
And you played?
I ended up playing,
That
I think
day?
that was the year, I believe.
But you played that game that day that they were saying, I don't know, we
I did.
put you on the field?
They came out. Because I think what happened ultimately, at their core, they wanted a guy who could walk in that room and be like them and be comfortable and own it and stand in front of this team and be like, I got you. That's what they wanted. And so I think they felt like,
Want somebody with a backbone.
yeah, they wanted someone to be able to come in there and be like, I'm your quarterback. You kidding?
Yeah,
Look, let's just watch the game, and then we'll see what happens.
yeah. And I mean, what a ride.
Hmm.
I mean, it can be a long way to fall, and the silence can be deafening. When it rolled around, when you would have been in camp, when you would have been getting ready, what did it feel like to not do it after 14 years?
Surprisingly good. I think I captured a lot of the competition aspect of trying to be good in the broadcast world, and then golf.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that same stuff I tell you about football, I'm kind of shifting over to golf a little, where it's like, let's see how good we can be at this, and let's see how much we can improve. And then, I love football so much. I've studied that for so many years, but the broadcasting aspect, that's like enjoyable.
Yeah.
Not as the competitive side of it per se, but the enjoyment from just loving the game and trying to have that come about.
As you look at it from that point of view now, what do you think about where the game's going in terms of head injuries and protecting the quarterback and that sort of thing? You were down in the trenches before. Now you're watching some of these hits from the booth and seeing some of the rule changes and stuff with CTE and all this that's being learned about. Where do you think the game's headed? Where do you think it should head in terms of protecting the players and the head injuries?
Well, I think what they're doing is exactly what they should be. It should be about player safety. I mean, these are real people with real families, and I think the NFL has done a great job of learning about, the stuff they didn't really have a great understanding, I guess, before. And so they've put a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of stuff into making the game safer. And the thing that I feel is like sometimes people are like, oh, it won't be football anymore. I'm like, you're still watching. And it is. It's still extremely physical. It's extremely dangerous as far as like just your knee. It's like if we can figure out a way to protect the head, that's a great thing. Just you're putting your legs and your body on the line. That's why it's a young man's sport. It's hard. What Tom Brady's doing is incredible.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of protection, though. I mean, he gets knocked down less than any of the other quarterbacks across time. So.
And you want to know part of the reason that is because of his intelligence.
Yeah.
His ability to get to the right play and understand when they're pressuring, when they're not. Other guys are just running plays. Not everybody.
Yeah.
But, you look across the league, it's like you want to beat that team. He's gonna know what you're in, and he's going to get to the right play a lot of the time.
Yeah, and he gets rid of that ball really quick.
Yeah. I mean, it's a smart thing. If he's healthy for that football team going into the end of the year, you know how this turns out a lot of the time. I mean, it's rare.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I've got to get your opinion about this, and then I want to talk about broadcasting for sure, but there was a huge no call this year, obviously, with the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean Payton's a good friend of mine, and he's still pissed off about it, of course. But if the call had been made, they could have just run the clock out, taken a knee. I mean, that doesn't mean something couldn't have happened or whatever. I understand that you don't know what could happen, but high percentage, they would have been in the Super Bowl if that call had been made. And I think everybody agrees that was probably one of the most blatant missed calls I can remember in a long time. What could they or should they have done about that, in your opinion? That's not something you can review. It's not reviewable under the rules, right?
Yeah, you can't do. I mean, it's just a human error. I know that people want more from it. Was it the right call? No. I mean, I think everyone knows it was a penalty. I think you can't fault either team for. I mean, both these guys were incredible. It comes down to a possession. I mean, both teams had the ball, again later in that game. So it's just there were so many things. I personally haven't played the game for so long. Crap happens. It just has to be devastating. When you talk to Sean, when you have a shot at the Super Bowl, and it's that real and it's that close. It just doesn't happen very often in that exact moment. But in football games, it happens a lot. And you're like, well, this would have changed the whole game with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. People don't remember. This was the most blatant time that you saw a real human error on a critical stage and moment. And I mean, there's no real great answer.
But there's 7 refs on the field at the time, and even though
those
they
have
refs,
jobs, they have jobs. The other ones are like the guy standing behind. It's just a 1 or 2 person.
But I mean, shouldn't somebody have thrown a flag or even run across and say, "What are you thinking?" I mean, the guy selling Dr. Pepper saw that.
They it's funny is there is a thing with the American Alliance football, the AAF, that I think is going to do a great job actually in how they're starting this off. But they actually have a sky judge. So basically, the guy to be like, that was wrong.
They got
Click.
a God eye.
He's basically just he's there to say, this is random. Like, we can just overturn what you did or didn't do.
Yeah.
And that I like. You only need it for what? For that type of situation. It's for that situation. It's that important.
why did that guy not make that call? I mean, I know in real time it happens fast, but how do you not see that? I mean, was he just in that second looking away? I mean, how do you, I've looked at it 100 times and it doesn't seem like he wasn't looking.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's almost like a guy running to first. It's like the ball obviously got there before the runners hit the base, but he just banged it. And he's like, no, I thought it was closer. It's like,
yeah. I mean, the guy's obviously not dishonest. He's not biased. It's just incompetent. He just didn't do it.
Sports is not without human error.
No, it's not. You have 3 boys. Will you encourage them or discourage them about playing football?
I don't think I'll ever discourage them from doing anything. Or, like, to me, it goes back to what you said. I'm like, if you really like this, go play it. What I won't allow them, from a dad, from my perspective, if everything's the same as it is, 10 years from now, but they won't play tackle football until 8th grade. That'll be the first time I'll let them. I just don't believe it's a craft sport. So if in tennis, you need to go practice tennis to get better at tennis.
Yeah.
The only position that I really believe is a craft-oriented position is the quarterback, where it's like you physically getting better at throwing does make you better. Most other positions, it's running.
Yeah.
And it's your vision and your instinct. Well, yeah, you hadn't played football before. These other kids, well, you have. It's 7-on-7. You've played all these, a lineman isn't way more dominant as a sophomore because he played in 5th grade tackle. It just, your body changes, you get bigger, I don't think you gain anything from doing it, is what I believe. And there's only a downside. If your kid wants to play it, to me, that's a discussion. But I feel like if I tell them that at a young age, they understand, it's important to me. And, you can play football. I'm not saying you can't. And I love the game. I know what it's brought me and my family.
Would you be afraid of head injuries?
I don't think I would be afraid. I mean, you just, I know about my whole history and I don't think you do anything afraid. I think if you're playing, you're playing. But if you're thinking about that, you shouldn't be playing.
Well, one of my best friends is the head of neurosurgery at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in L.A., Dr. Pat Johnson. I asked him the question. He's also works as a sideline doctor for the NFL. He takes them in the tent when they come off. And I asked him, knowing what you know about CTE and knowing what you know about head injuries and knowing what you know about all the things that are coming out and being the specialist you are, would you tell parents that it's foolish to let their kids play football? Would you tell them they shouldn't do that? And he said, not even almost.
Isn't that funny?
Not even almost. And I was really surprised at what he said. And I said, why is that? And he said, you're a perfect example. Would you have gone to college without a football scholarship? And I said, not a chance. And he said, there you go.
Changes your life.
Are there risks? Yeah, there are risks, but there would have been risk if you were running a backhoe.
Yeah.
And he said, you wouldn't have gone to college without it. You went to college with it, and I'm sitting here talking to you today. And he said, there are risks in whatever you do, and I don't think they're particularly higher doing that than if you're doing manual labor, working with a skill saw or a backhoe or whatever. And he said, a lot of the kids that play football, it's their ticket out. And he said, it was certainly your ticket out.
It really was.
Because we grew up really poor. I was very poor. And I went to University of Tulsa, which was a private school and very expensive, on a full ride, and I would have never gone without it.
Yeah. I never went to Eastern Illinois, That's just, there's no way that, you love something and you're good at it. I don't think you can nitpick in this life. Life is hard enough I don't care who you are. It's not handed to you. You don't just, if you're going to really make something of yourself, you're going to have to grind and it's going to get hard and it's not easy every day.
Yeah. And that was something I could do. It's something I could do and I loved it. And As it turned out, I wasn't worth a damn at it. I mean, I wasn't very good.
I wasn't either, though. That's the crazy part. You just
I
try
wasn't
and get
very
better.
big, but at least I was slow. So
I'm slow too.
talk to me about this transition to the booth, because, come on, you went from being on the football field to the number one color analyst spot on the number one network in television. That's a big jump.
Yeah, I guess when you say it like that, it sounds like
Well,
it just
I do a lot of business with CBS. I do a lot of business with CBS. I'm CBS centric on my daytime show. I have primetime shows with them. That's a big jump.
Yeah, I think it felt like a normal segue move, I guess, at the time, that you're going from this and now you're like, I love the game. It keeps me involved in the game. I get to work with Jim Nantz. That was a pretty really neat deal for me.
Great chemistry between the two of you. And he says great chemistry as well. You feel it, right?
Oh yeah. No,
he sets you up really well because he understands the game and he knows what you know and what he doesn't know. So it's a perfect division of labor.
You're 100% right. Jim is the rarest guy who is a play-by-play guy who knows the game, but he also knows me, and he knows our environment, and he knows the situation. He just has this gift of, like, probably not unlike you, where it's like you can see how this is going or see the situation and kind of adapt it. He's done so many little things where I'll go back and watch and be like, I didn't even know he did that, but that totally got me to go there or to do this.
Yeah.
And then there's a selfless side to it too, that he is really one of the most genuine, caring people that I've ever met. And he's that way in the booth. And I mean, it's hard to explain to people how that can come about, but if you're not close with somebody, I really feel like it can show, and it really does hurt the broadcast. And me and Jim are real close, and he's
a very genuine guy.
He is.
And he can't say enough about his respect for you and for you being a rookie in the booth and all. He doesn't focus on that. He focuses on what you bring to the booth knowledge-wise about the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have. And you mentioned reading the press, and, people comment, they call you Romo Damas, like you predict this and that and the other. And there are those that said if the Chiefs had talked to you, they might be in the Super Bowl today. I think that somebody may have even gotten fired. They said, hell, the announcer can see what's going to happen and you can't. What the hell's going on here? So you really have, you talked about progressions, that when you got into competition for the job, you could see the progressions faster than other people. You really do see what's happened, and you predict the play with incredible accuracy that it has become a thing. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah, I am. It's funny because they've asked me to describe and I'm like, it's just, you just play the game. And it's like, I think a lot of people could see, coaches and players who've played the position could see a lot. The only difference that I feel like, it's just, there's that little thing of, I love the game so much. You want to learn as much as you can about the game. Then you eventually learn all that playing the quarterback position. And it's like, okay, I understand. Now it's the systems. Now I understand. I want to understand people. So now it's like, you're the defensive coordinator and you're calling a defense. Well, I want to understand, when everything's on the line, who are you at your core? Because everyone has it.
Yeah.
I've used that word core 30 times today. But it's like, who is that guy?
No, but you're right. This guy, is
somebody.
he a gambler or is he not?
Yeah. This is not, it's still like an algorithm. Human beings are still going to be who they are, and they got to fight against it. So I want to know who this guy is. And there's so many people like that on the field that matter. The quarterback, who's he? What is he trusting? Who's and the system wise, what's he going with? Because he's been in the situation 1,000 times. He's got to have some laws that govern him a little bit. The defensive guy the same way.
Yeah.
And so once you put all those together, then you start looking at mannerisms, and then you go through, footwork and I mean, just, I'd say these guys all know it.
But you say some things that I think people are learning when you're calling it that just kind of rules the game. Like I heard you say one time, you need 15 seconds to get your kicking unit onto the field and kick a field goal. That if you run the clock down past, is it 15 seconds?
22, but yeah.
20, it's 22. Yeah. It was some number.
Yeah.
That you just can't do it under that. You're not going to get it done. So if you don't manage your clock at that, you just can't get it done. And I didn't know that. I'd never thought about that. Ever since you said that, I've watched that. That's right. you can't do it. They can try, but they can't do it.
So it
just takes that long.
It really, and this was for, we call it a Mayday field goal. So if it's third down and let's say 10, and it's only for the end of, game or obviously situation end of half. So 3rd and 10, you throw it and you get 7 yards and you're inbounds and you're out of timeouts. So it's only on 3rd down when you're out of timeouts at the end of the half or end of the game. And you throw it and you don't get the first down and you don't go out of bounds. In that specific case, you can't come up and spike it. And there has to be only enough time to where you can't run another play, get a first down, and then kick the field goal.
Right.
So it's such a finite situation. So if you throw it on 3rd down and 10 from your 30, you get 7 yards, you're at the 23, you're tackled in bounds. Your field goal unit has to run on the field. As soon as you are tackled,
they got to know to be sprinting on the field.
Yes. You have to be, they're ready for that. But the whole point is there needs to be 22 seconds on the clock for this to take place. If there's not, don't even try it.
Yeah.
So you talk about 15 seconds for them to run on and kick it. I'm saying it's 22 seconds from the snap of the ball to the catch, to being down, to the field goal unit getting up and kicking it. That's one of those, there's a million little things that if your team can get, extra prepared, you're ready for that stuff.
And if you don't have it, then just go for it, right? I mean, if you're down close enough and you run out of time, you ought to just go for it because you don't have time to kick it.
Correct. If you're on 3rd and 10 and you get 17 seconds, well, here's what's happening. You're snapping the ball again and you're calling a play to go to the end zone on 4th down.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Just run the clock down, throw it to the end zone.
Yep. Or if you're already in field goal range, you're actually only throwing it past the sticks.
Yeah.
So you're throwing it 100% out of bounds or past the first down marker.
Yeah.
Because then you can get up and clock the ball and stop the clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to understand how different 7 seconds is to 9.
Yeah.
9 is to 11.
Yeah.
11 to 13. 13 to 18. This is the kind of stuff where it drives you nuts when you're watching sometimes because it's the difference between winning and losing. I mean, it's the end of the game.
Yeah.
And you can't practice it or talk to your team or your quarterback, the people who control it enough.
Did you think you were going to enjoy announcing as much as you are?
I hoped. I didn't know that I would. And the fact that I have, I think is a testament to the group of people I'm around as much as the game and everything as well. I got a team with Jim Nance, Jim Rickoff, and our group over at, Tracy Wolfson and Mike Arnold over at CBS that is just rare.
Yeah.
So I like them. And if we like each other, it's way more fun being on the road.
Yeah. How do you feel about doing the interviews you're doing? You had a great series leading up to the Super Bowl. It was Tony Goes to the Super Bowl. And
that show morphed a few times.
The joke was, that you finally got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But you were talking to different players and stuff. And you really seemed comfortable. You really seemed at ease. Did you like doing that?
Not really. It was a lot of work, so I'm done doing it.
Really?
No, I mean, I'm kind of joking, but kind of serious. I feel like you people don't realize how much work you just put in to come in here and do this. You're gifted, you're great, but you put in work too. And the combination of all that is what makes you rare and special. And I feel like for me, my work was my history of knowing these guys a little bit. Yeah. And then there's a million things you can read up and I'm like, I just don't want to sound interviewee, where it's just, I felt like I was like, let's just have a conversation and film it. I don't want to go like that was how I wanted the show to come out, was just that more so. And I think that was better for me because I know these guys a little bit, and it's like you when you have a great buddy that you're sitting down to interview.
Yeah. Well, it did come across that way. It came across like two players, two people that knew each other some, were just kind of cutting up on camera and talking. So you pulled it off. It did come across that way.
They wanted to make it very professional. I wanted to show all the joking and the stuff behind the scenes and stuff. That's a little ridiculous.
I think you definitely pulled it off.
I appreciate it.
But are you serious about golf?
I love it. And that's the thing. If you give me something that brings joy, I call
try
it
to qualify.
I'll play in a few PGA events this year, I think, and a few others. My game's, last year I started like really committing to it, so there'll be some improvement this year for sure. Hopefully I'll be able to show that.
Yeah, you got somebody you're working with, or are you just doing it on your own?
Yeah, no, I work with Chris O'Connell and Andy Trainer from Plain Truth, and they've you got to go find some people, and then you study it yourself, and then you talk to them, and then we come up with, and then you go attack it. And I feel like my knowledge of the game is, quadrupled having met them. Just, Chris and Andy are just very, very intelligent and have helped me tremendously.
What are you best at? Short game, long game, putting?
What day are you coming out to watch?
Yeah.
I've gotten asked that, and I'm always like, last week was putting. Now it's my distance, and next week it'll be my iron play. And then I'll be struggling with my putting and then struggling with my...
Yeah, but you're waiting for that 1 week where you get them all on the same week, where they come together.
Oh, that'll be a nice day.
Do you have you made the cut in a PGA event?
No, I just played in one last year, and I just started with the new swing, which now we look back as a little aggressive 3 weeks before. But this year will be a fun thing to try. And as far as work ethic and commitment, we're putting in the time. My wife will tell you.
So you got into a PGA event last year?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do?
I didn't play very well.
That's what motivates you, right?
That's what does. And like I told you, it doesn't sit well. And then at the end of November, I ended up trying to qualify for Q School, which is to kind of get on the web.com and the PGA Tour. And so I got through the first stage, which was a huge accomplishment. Those are all great players.
Because there are some killer players out there that are going to be winning PGA events soon.
Oh my gosh. All these guys are out there. I'm like, everybody here is outstanding.
But that makes you play better, right?
Yeah. And I had improved from March until November. And now I haven't really played anything since then. And getting through that was a confidence. But also the game it's starting to get much improved. And a lot of the areas that were just flaws last year where they get exposed in big situations, I hope that's going to be different.
Yeah. How old are you now?
38, right in my prime for golf.
Right in your prime. So what are you going to be doing 30, 40 years from now? What do you suspect? You suspect you'll still be in sports?
I hope I'm still waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
I think that's
be on the right side of the grass.
Yeah, exactly.
You think you'll still be in sports? Like broadcasting?
Let's say 20 years. In 20 years from now, yes. I'll always be involved in sports. I think there's no question about that. As far as what? I mean, I could still be announcing. I could see that. I could be coaching. I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, hopefully we get good enough at golf to get paid one day for one event, $100. That'd be a good one. Be a good check.
Well, you're a member at the sports club. You've walked down that hallway and looked at Byron Nelson's book laying there. What he got, $17.80 for winning a PGA event and $9 the next week. It was
unbelievable.
He won 11 straight. I don't think he got $200 for winning 11 PGA events in a row.
We can get gas this week.
Man, how much have things changed?
It's different. I still remember my first $10,000 I got after I was done with college, getting ready for the draft. My agency gave me $10,000.
Really?
I was rich. I mean, it was like, guys, we're going out on me tonight, and I think forever. Like, this will never run out. I'm fine. That was great.
What was your biggest contract in the NFL?
That 2 years for $4 million was my biggest. I don't care what anybody says. I've signed, obviously, some big ones there. But whatever it is, 4 or 6, 7 years for 70 million or something one time.
Yeah, they've all been public, I know. So it's
But that 2-year, $4 million.
Yeah, that felt good, didn't it?
I was set for life. That was like, you could take. I'm going to have an apartment, and some girl will at least like me a little bit.
Yeah, so you got something to offer, right?
There's something here that you can work with.
Is there anything in life that gives you sweaty palms?
Playing in a PGA Tour event.
Yeah,
I think that would be.
That will.
Yeah, you'll see a couple here in the next 2 months.
But just think about it. That's something that'll move your needle.
And that's why it brings me joy.
That's right.
And I didn't think I'd find that again.
Yeah. And to be able to be good enough at something that you compete at a level that'll move your needle and get those butterflies going. I mean, how great is that?
It's a gift.
I mean,
you're exactly right. It's a gift that is given to you. The announcing part is joy, an enjoyment, right? But like you said, the sweaty palms, I'm not really getting to that part of it because I feel I know that. This one, to get that gift again, to have that, it's really, it's a joyful obsession.
Have you ever had a hole in one?
No, I have hit the stick a few times, and I'm like, this just doesn't work out for me.
It's crazy to me. I played football in front of, stadium full of people and stuff, gone down the ramp and, heard the crowd yelling and had big wins and stuff and, been excited. But I got a hole in one and I was jumping up and down 3 feet in the air. It's
like a school kid.
Why? You've done all this and then you have that and you're like a schoolgirl running around on the tee box.
Oh, you're right. I don't know. I wish it's like when someone says, how's the Super Bowl? I don't know. Never been.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll get one. I'm a terrible golfer and it's so much luck. But there's a guy at our club that got a hole in one on the par 3, number 3, and a hole in one on the par 3, number 5 in the same golf round.
Wow.
I mean, like 5 minutes apart. I mean, what are the odds are like 1 in 30 million or something. And he was in a foursome, hole in one, played the par 4, hole in one.
It's a rough life some people have.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Gosh,
and he's not that good.
Some guys get all the luck.
Yeah, I know. Come on.
Here we are grinding away over here in life, and these guys are making holes.
Yeah, we're out here working away. So, well, listen, I won't take up any more of your time, but this has just been really great. And I appreciate you sharing because I really wanted to know the mindset because what you've achieved and accomplished at 38. I've got 2 boys, Jay and Jordan, and Jay's about your age, and my younger Jordan is just turned 30, and Jordan's a very successful musician. He's like going vertical right now, and
love it.
My son Jay is a TV producer, and he's in business, and I tell them both. I say, boys, every once in a while, I want you to stop, take a deep breath, look around and take it all in because don't miss the journey. Don't miss the ride because that's a big part of it. And I really encourage them to do that. And I tell myself that same thing sometimes. And I hope you've done that along the way and do it because you've had a hell of a journey, man.
I think when I was young, I would think about the throwing motion every day and night. Like I'd throw into the couch, into the pillows after practice. I'd take 20 balls, go up, turn the lights on at the dome, and I'd throw till 1 a.m. and then get up and go to practice. And I just wanted to get that feeling where it was perfect, And I think I wasn't old enough yet to appreciate that was the joy.
Yeah.
The joy was in this. I want to do this so bad with everything. And then one day you wake up and you're 17 years and you're Dr. Phil and everyone knows you. And the joy was just in some ways trying to become Dr. Phil.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you are, and this is great and you get it and you got all the, but it's like, so when we talk about that stuff, I mean, I have gratitude when you have an opportunity to really love something that makes you get excited waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
If you're excited to wake up in the morning, You have to understand you are rare. It's a big time deal to wake up and get out of bed and be like, I can't wait to do this today. If you get that, man, you are lucky. And if you don't, I really feel like try and find something that gives you a little bit. Start doing that in your life, because life is hard.
Yeah. And if you get your vocation and your avocation to be the same thing, where your work is your play, I mean, how blessed are we? And, you know, I walk in that studio sometimes, I open that door and that red light's flashing, and I look up on those walls and it's Dr. Phil everywhere you look. And
how did this happen?
People are chanting out there, and, you know, I'm reading number one for 200 weeks in a row or whatever it is.
Just insane stuff.
And it's like, I'm just a poor kid from Texas, you know.
That's exactly.
It's just, you wonder, you know, like you say, you can't throw your arm out of socket patting yourself on the back.
No, that's,
you know, God had a plan to put you there. I just want to be a good steward of it.
That's exactly right.
Just don't want to screw it up now that I'm there, and have some gratitude and humility about it, you know, once you're there, and be a good steward of it, you know, use it. Like, I've got a really big platform, you know, maybe probably 35 million people a week. I just want to be a good steward of it and make sure that I don't waste it and use it in a good way, you know, and
you do.
That's what I want to do.
I think it's apparent you do.
Yeah. And
done a lot of great things.
And that's with this podcast. You know, I want people to hear what we're talking about and go away and say, you know, they're talking about passion. I haven't thought about that a lot. I need to get passionate in my life, because I want to be, you know, I want to have the conversation they're having with my kids or with somebody. So, and if that happens, we've done a good thing here.
Well, you've been doing it a lot now.
Yeah.
I might sprinkle in once a blue moon, but I'll get to your level maybe.
You know, I told you I did the homework. If you ever sitting around,
go look at that.
Punch up and listen to players talking about you, because I kid you not, they say the theme is they felt better about themselves when they're after being around you than they did before. That's called a health engendering personality. That's a good thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, your kids are blessed to have that in a dad.
I appreciate you.
All right, Tony, thanks.
Thank you.
Find Fill in the Blanks in your podcast app. Then subscribe so you don't miss an episode.